"Can I hide in your car?" The words came out as a whisper, barely audible over the sound of her own ragged breathing. Layla's voice cracked on the last syllable. She didn't even know if the man could hear her. He could. The alley was closing in on her. Concrete walls on both sides, darkness pooling at the corners. Behind her, boots thundered against wet pavement. Rourke was getting closer. She could hear him panting, growling her name like a curse. "Layla, stop." She didn't stop. Cairo's small fingers dug into her neck, his body pressed against hers so tightly she could feel every tremor of fear running through him. 4 years old and already learning what terror felt like. The thought made her faster, made her desperate. Before we dive into this story, tell us where in the world you're watching from and what time it is right now. Someone near you might be watching too. And don't forget to subscribe to support and appreciate the work we do on this channel. Blood ran down her forehead. The cut was deep. She'd felt the sting when his ring caught her skin. They'd fought in the apartment. She'd thrown things. Screamed. Fought back harder than she ever had before. Because tonight was different. Tonight Rourke's eyes had gone to a place they'd never been. A place where he stopped being angry and started being something else entirely. Something that wanted to kill her. The alley opened onto a street lined with dead storefronts and broken windows. Chicago's forgotten side. The kind of place where people disappeared and nobody asked questions. She'd chosen this neighborhood for that reason. Rourke didn't know these streets. He'd found them anyway. Then she saw it, a black SUV idling under a street lamp, engine running softly. Tinted windows that swallowed light. An open driver's door like an invitation. The man inside sat perfectly still, watching the chaos unfold. She didn't think. She just ran straight toward him. "Please," she screamed. "Help us." The man's eyes tracked her approach without expression. Granite eyes. Dead eyes. Eyes that belonged to someone who'd seen things that broke most people. His suit cost more than her monthly rent. His hands gripped the steering wheel like he was restraining something violent. Layla threw Cairo into the back seat. "Get in," the man said. Just 2 words. "Come." Final. She dove in after her son and slammed the door shut. The lock clicked, a sound like fate locking into place. Rourke's fist smashed against the window. Once. Twice. The glass held. His face appeared, distorted with rage, and she saw his lips form her name. "Drive," she gasped. The SUV moved without hesitation. Smooth. Controlled. The tires found traction on wet asphalt and the vehicle glided forward like it was part of the night itself. Rourke became a blur. Then a shadow. Then nothing. Cairo's sobbing filled the silence. The man drove with both hands steady on the wheel. His jaw was tight. His eyes never left the road. He didn't ask questions. Didn't demand explanations. Just drove deeper into the city toward somewhere Layla had never been. After 10 minutes he finally spoke. "Your name." Not a question. An order. "Layla," she whispered. "The boy." "Cairo." "My son." The man nodded once, like he'd confirmed something he already knew. He turned a corner and the city streets became industrial. Warehouses. Empty lots. The kind of place where screaming wouldn't matter. He pulled into an abandoned building and killed the engine. "Welcome to your new life," he said quietly. "It starts now." The warehouse was cold and empty. Layla sat on the concrete floor, Cairo curled against her chest, his breathing finally even. He'd cried himself to sleep an hour ago. Her arms ached from holding him, but she didn't move. The man, she still didn't know his name, walked the perimeter of the building. He moved with purpose. Every step was deliberate. He checked locks, windows, corners. His movements told her he'd done this before. Many times. He never looked at her. Not once. Layla's pulse was still racing. The adrenaline hadn't worn off. Her body was waiting for the next threat. She understood now why people lived in fear. Because once fear found you, it didn't leave easily. Cairo shifted in his sleep. She kissed the top of his head and held him tighter. The man finished his walk and came back. He sat across from her, maybe 10 feet away. Close enough to reach if needed. Far enough to give her space. He pulled out a phone and made a call. His voice was low, controlled. "It's done. No witnesses. Clean." He paused, listening. "I'm at the warehouse. She's here. The boy too." Another pause. "I know what this means." He hung up without saying goodbye. Layla's mouth went dry. He'd said something about her being here, like someone knew she was coming. Like this wasn't random. "Who are you?" she asked. Her voice sounded small and broken. The man looked at her for the first time. His eyes were empty, like something inside him had died a long time ago and never came back. Someone who makes problems disappear, he said. Right now you're a problem that needs to disappear. Fear shot through her like electricity. She pulled Cairo closer. I don't have money, she said quickly. I can't pay you. If you want. I don't want your money. He stood up and walked to a metal table in the corner. He picked up a bottle of water and threw it to her. She caught it with one hand. Drink. You're dehydrated. Why are you helping us? He didn't answer right away. He walked back to the window and looked out at the dark city. His silhouette was sharp against the streetlights outside. She could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw clenched. Because sometimes, he said finally, you meet someone running and you recognize the look, the desperation, the willingness to do anything to survive. He turned back to face her. I know that look. I've worn it. Who was that on the phone? Someone I trust. To do what? He stepped closer. Not threatening. Just moving. To make sure Rourke never finds you. To make sure he never finds your son. Layla's chest tightened. You're going to kill him. The man didn't confirm or deny it. He just looked at her. What's your son's name again? Cairo. How old? 4. He nodded slowly. Then we need to be fast. Before he remembers things. Before he asks questions about where you came from. He sat back down. What's Rourke to you? My ex. How long? 2 years together. 3 years broken up. He wouldn't accept it. He followed me. Found me. Said I was his. Said Cairo was his. She swallowed hard. He got worse. Every time I tried to leave he got worse. Did he hit you? Yes. Did he hit Cairo? Layla's hand shook. He tried. That's why I ran tonight. The man stood up and walked away. He disappeared into the darkness of the warehouse. Layla heard him moving things, opening drawers. He came back with a blanket and a pillow. He set them down next to her. Sleep if you can, he said. Tomorrow everything changes. What do you mean? I mean you're not running anymore. You're going to fight back. He paused. But first you need to understand who I am. And what I'm capable of. Who are you? He looked at her directly. His voice came out quiet and final. My name is Zevrian Kale. And the people I work for own this city. Layla didn't sleep. She lay on the blanket with Cairo pressed against her side, staring at the ceiling while the warehouse creaked and settled around them. Zevrian sat by the window watching the street. He didn't move for hours. Just sat there like a statue. She kept replaying everything. The apartment. Rourke's hands around her wrist. The way his eyes changed when she said she was leaving for good. The moment she knew he would actually do it, he would actually kill her. Stop thinking so loud, Zevrian said from across the room. He still didn't look at her. I can hear it from here. How long have you known my ex? She asked. I didn't. Then how did you know to be there? In that alley? Zevrian finally turned. He stood up and walked to her. He sat down on his heels, eye level with her face. I didn't know to be there. But I was there because I was looking for someone. You happened to run into my car. He paused. Or maybe you were supposed to. What does that mean? It means the world works in ways you don't understand yet. He reached out and touched her forehead gently. She flinched. His finger came away with dried blood. That needs cleaning. There's a first aid kit in the bathroom. Back corner. She didn't move. Is Rourke really going to die? Yes. The word hung in the air between them. Simple. Final. She thought she would feel something, guilt, relief, horror. But all she felt was empty. Numb. Why? She asked. Why would you do that for someone you don't know? Zevrian stood up. He walked back to the window. Because I know what it's like when someone owns you. When they tell you that you belong to them and you believe it because you're tired of running. He didn't turn around. I know what it's like to be desperate enough to get into a stranger's car and ask them to hide you. Layla's chest tightened. He'd done it. He'd been her. Desperate and terrified. What happened to you? She asked quietly. Zevrian was silent for a long time. I survived, he finally said. And then I made sure no one ever had power over me again. I built an empire. I made money. I made connections. I made enemies. He turned to look at her. Most importantly, I learned how to make other people's problems disappear. By killing them? By any means necessary. He paused. Rourke is going to have an accident tomorrow. A car crash. Very tragic. Very sudden. No connection to you. No connection to me. Layla felt sick. She'd never wanted anyone dead. But she also knew that if she didn't do something, Rourke would find her again. And next time he wouldn't hesitate. What about us? She asked. What happens to me in Cairo? You stay with me, Zevrian said, until it's safe. And then we figure out the next move. He started to walk away, then stopped. There's food in the kitchen area. You need to eat. Both of you need strength. Layla got up carefully so she wouldn't wake Cairo. She followed Zevrian through the warehouse. It was huge, concrete floors, metal beams, empty except for dust and shadows. In a corner there was a small kitchen setup. A table, a refrigerator, bottled water, and food. How long have you been using this place? She asked. Long enough, he said. It's safe. Nobody knows about it except people I trust. How many people trust you? Zevrian looked at her. Not many. Trust is a luxury. Most people can't afford it. He made her a sandwich. She ate standing up, watching him. He was watching her back. Not in a threatening way. In a studying way. Like he was trying to figure out what she was. Eat, he said. Then rest. Tomorrow Rourke dies and your real problems start. What real problems? Zevrian didn't answer. He just walked away into the darkness of the warehouse, leaving her alone with the sandwich and the growing sense that she'd jumped from one danger into another. The only difference was this danger had a name. And a plan. Morning came slow. Layla woke to Cairo playing with a toy truck she didn't recognize. Zevrian had left it next to her. The boy was smiling, actually smiling, for the first time in days. She sat up, her body aching. The concrete floor had been hard, but she'd been through worse. Zevrian was on a laptop at the table, his face lit by the screen. He looked like he hadn't slept. There were empty coffee cups around him. Papers spread out. He was working on something. He awake? He asked without looking up. Yeah. He found the truck. I got it for him. He needs normal things. Toys. Routine. Kids are resilient when you give them structure. Layla watched Cairo push the truck across the concrete floor, making engine sounds. Normal things. Her son was learning to be normal after 3 years of running and hiding. The thought made her eyes burn. We need to talk about what happens next, Zevrian said. He finally looked up from the laptop. Rourke is dead. Car accident on the highway. 3 other people involved. It'll be in the news by tonight. Police will investigate, but there's nothing to connect you to it. Layla felt the word land. Dead. Over. Done. How? She asked. Does it matter? Yes. I need to know if... You need to know if you're responsible? Zevrian closed the laptop. You're not. I am. He was a threat. Threats get removed. That's what I do. She wanted to feel something. Guilt. Gratitude. Fear. But there was just emptiness. Rourke was gone. Cairo was safe. That was the only thing that mattered. What does this cost? She asked. You didn't help us because you're a good person. That's not how the world works. Zevrian smiled. It was the first time she'd seen him smile. It wasn't warm. It was cold and sharp like a knife. Smart, he said. You're right. Nothing is free. But the cost isn't money. He stood up and walked to her. The cost is that you owe me now. And I don't know yet what I'm going to ask for. That's insane. I can't agree to that. You already have, he said. The moment you got in my car, you agreed. The moment I killed for you, the debt was locked in. Layla's hand shook. She understood now that she wasn't safe. She just traded one trap for another. A gilded trap, but a trap nonetheless. I want to leave, she said. I want to take Cairo and... Where? Zevrian asked. His voice was calm. Matter of fact. You have no money. No ID. No resources. You'd last 2 days on the street before someone found you. And next time I won't be there. He was right. She knew he was right. But the truth of it felt like a noose tightening. So I'm your prisoner, she said. No, Zevrian said. You're my responsibility. There's a difference. He turned and walked to a cabinet. He pulled out clothes, jeans, shirts, underwear. All in her size. He tossed them on the blanket. Get cleaned up, he said. There's a shower in the back. Then we eat. After that, I'm going to tell you who you really are. I know who I am, Layla said. No, Zevrian replied. You know who Rourke made you into. You know who fear made you into. But you don't know who you actually are. And that's where everything changes. He walked away before she could respond, leaving her holding clean clothes and questions she wasn't ready to have answered. The shower was cold water that gradually warmed. Layla stood under it and let herself cry. She'd been holding it in for days. For months. For years. Now it came out in waves that bent her forward, made her gasp. She washed blood from her hair. Bruises covered her arms and ribs, reminders of the fight with Rourke. Some were fresh. Some were old. She'd stopped counting them months ago. When she came out, Zevrian had laid out fresh clothes on the blanket. Real clothes. Not warehouse rags. A black shirt that fit perfectly. Jeans that were the right length. Even socks. How did he know her sizes? How did he know her sizes? Cairo was eating cereal at the table. Real cereal. Real milk. Zevrian sat across from him, watching the boy eat like it was the most important thing in the world. Mama? Cairo called out. There's food. She sat down next to him and he climbed into her lap. She held him while he finished eating, feeling his small body relax against hers. When was the last time he had a full night's sleep? Zevrian asked. Before Rourke found us. 3 months ago. Zevrian nodded. He stood and walked to the kitchen area. He came back with a plate of food for her. Eggs. Toast. Fruit. Real food. Eat, he said. And then we talk. She ate mechanically. Cairo fell asleep on her lap, his belly full for the first time in weeks. When she finished, Zevrian pulled out a chair. He sat across from her and opened a folder. Inside were photographs. Old photographs. Your father, he said, pointing to a man who looked nothing like her but had her eyes. Marcus Chin. Dead for 7 years. Layla's heart stopped. What? You didn't know? My mother told me he left. That he didn't want us. Zevrian shook his head. He died. Murdered. By a man named Viktor Volkov. A Russian crime boss. He pointed to another photograph. A man with scars across his face. Your father and I were partners. We were building something. We were going to change how power worked in this city. What happened? Volkov happened. He saw what we were building and he didn't like it. So he killed your father. And he threatened to kill me next. But I was faster. And angrier. Layla couldn't breathe. Her father hadn't abandoned her. He'd been murdered. After your father died, Zevrian continued, your mother disappeared. She changed your name. Moved away. Raised you alone and never told you the truth. Why are you telling me this now? Zevrian leaned back in his chair. His eyes were cold and calculating. Because 6 months ago Victor started asking questions about you. About Marcus Chen's daughter. About where you were. What you were doing. The room spun. What? Why would he? Because he's making sure there are no loose ends, Zevrian said. No one left who might come looking for revenge. No one who might claim what was supposed to be yours. I don't understand. Your father left you something. Money. Property. Power. Connections. It's all been sitting in accounts, waiting. Growing. Zevrian closed the folder. Victor knows about it. He wants it. And he'll kill you to keep you from getting it. Layla looked down at Cairo sleeping on her lap. She understood now. The timing. The way Rourke had found her so easily. The way he'd escalated so quickly. Rourke, she said slowly. Was he working for Victor? Probably not directly. But someone was paid to track you down. To put pressure on you. To see if you'd run toward help or run toward nothing. And I ran toward you. Yes, Zevrian said. And now that you're here, everything changes. Victor knows you're under my protection. And that means war. Layla sat frozen, holding her sleeping son, understanding that the night in the alley wasn't an escape. It was a beginning. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. Zevrian stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at the city. I want to finish what your father and I started. I want to take down Victor. And I want you to help me do it. I don't know how to. I know, he said. But you will. Because your father's blood is in you. And that blood knows how to fight. He turned back to face her. In the dim warehouse light he looked like a ghost. Like someone who'd been dead for years but nobody had told him to stop moving. Rest today, he said. Because tomorrow your real training starts. Layla didn't sleep that night. She lay next to Cairo, staring at the warehouse ceiling, her mind spinning. Viktor Volkov. Her father. 7 years of lies. Around midnight, Zevrian's phone buzzed. He answered without saying hello. Just listened. His jaw tightened. When he hung up he looked different. Sharper. More dangerous. They found us, he said. Layla's blood went cold. Who? Victor's men. They're moving through the city. 3 teams. One heading to the warehouse. He was already moving, checking windows, securing locks. Pack whatever you have. We're leaving in 5 minutes. Where? Somewhere else. She grabbed Cairo, who woke confused and groggy. We have to go, baby. Right now. Zevrian appeared with a bag already packed. Keys to another car. He moved like someone who'd done this before. Many times. They made it to a car parked in the back alley just as headlights turned onto the street. Zevrian saw them and didn't hesitate. He pushed Layla and Cairo into the back seat and drove without turning on the headlights. 2 cars followed. "Get down," he ordered. Layla pulled Cairo onto the floor and covered his body with hers. The car accelerated. She heard the squeal of tires. The crunch of metal. Zevrian drove like someone with nothing to lose. He took corners at speeds that threw her against the door. Behind them, the pursuing cars tried to keep up. One didn't make the next turn. It crashed into a building. The other stayed with them. "Hold on," Zevrian said. He hit the accelerator and the car launched forward. They flew through an intersection, barely missing oncoming traffic. The pursuing car tried to follow and got T-boned by a truck. The impact was violent. Metal crumpled. The car flipped. Zevrian didn't look back. He drove for another 10 minutes, then pulled into a parking garage and parked in the darkest corner. Layla stayed on the floor, holding Cairo, not daring to move. Her heart was hammering so hard she thought it would break her ribs. "We're clear," Zevrian said. He turned to look at them. Blood ran down his temple from a cut on his forehead. "Everybody good?" "Is Cairo hurt?" she asked, checking her son frantically. He was shaking but whole. "No injuries. Just terror." "He's fine. You're fine." Zevrian pulled out his phone and made a call. 3 teams like I said. 2 are out of commission. The 3rd is hunting blind now. They know we got away but not where we went. "How do you know they were Victor's men?" "Because they drove like professionals. Because they coordinated. Because they tried to box us in instead of just running us off the road." He wiped the blood from his forehead. "That's Victor's style. Calculated. Organized. Ruthless." "We can't keep running like this," Layla said. Her voice was shaking. "Not with Cairo. Not like this." "We're not running," Zevrian said. He started the car and drove out of the garage slowly. "We're hunting." "What?" "Victor sent 3 teams to find you. That means he doesn't know exactly where we are. That means he's working off old information. That means I have time to move first." He drove through the city, taking random turns, making sure they weren't followed. Finally, he pulled up to a private hotel. Not fancy. Just a place where people didn't ask questions. "We're staying here tonight," he said. "Tomorrow you start learning who you really are." He had already booked rooms. They were on the 3rd floor, connected by an internal door. Layla got Cairo into one of the beds. The boy fell asleep immediately, exhausted from fear and movement. She sat on the edge of the bed and tried to steady her breathing. Zevrian appeared in the doorway. "You did good back there. You protected your son. You didn't panic." "I'm panicking now," she said. "That's okay. Panic is just delayed fear." He leaned against the doorframe. "But tomorrow it stops. Tomorrow you become something Victor doesn't expect. Something he can't account for." "What's that?" Zevrian looked at her like she was a stranger. Like he was seeing someone new. "Dangerous," he said quietly. "Tomorrow, Layla, you become dangerous." Layla woke to Cairo crying. Not the scared kind. The hungry kind. She checked her phone. 8 in the morning. They'd slept for 12 hours straight. She went to the bathroom and cleaned herself up. In the mirror, she barely recognized her own face. There were bruises she'd forgotten about. Dark circles under her eyes. She looked like someone who'd been through a war. She was still in that war. There was a knock on the connecting door. Zevrian stood there in black jeans and a black shirt. He looked like he'd been awake for hours. Maybe he hadn't slept at all. "There's food in the other room," he said. "Brought breakfast an hour ago. Still warm if you eat now." They went into his suite. The table had coffee, eggs, toast, fruit, juice. Real breakfast. Cairo climbed onto a chair and immediately stuffed food in his mouth like he was afraid it would disappear. "Slow down, baby," Layla said gently. Zevrian sat across from them with black coffee. Nothing else. Just coffee and a phone he kept checking. "We have a problem," he said after Cairo started eating. "Victor knows you're in the city. His men will expand the search. Hotels. Safe houses. Anywhere they think we might hide." "So we keep moving," Layla said. "No. That's what he expects. If we run, they'll catch us eventually. We're moving because we can't find a static position." He looked at her directly. "We need to create a position that can't be found." "How?" "By going somewhere he can't follow." Zevrian pulled out a photograph and slid it across the table. It was a compound. Walls. Guards. A big house in the middle. "This is my place. Real property. Not hidden. Not secret. Registered under my company name. Everyone in the city knows about it. That's where he'll look first, Layla said. Exactly. Which is why we're going to be there and he'll never find us. Layla didn't understand. She said so. The compound has a basement, Zevrian explained. A real basement. But underneath that is another basement. A bunker, basically. Hidden from anyone who doesn't know it exists. We stay there until I deal with Victor. Deal with how? Zevrian didn't answer. He just drank his coffee. Cairo finished eating and climbed into Layla's lap. He was getting comfortable with Zevrian, she realized. Yesterday the man had driven like a maniac through the city. Today Cairo was treating him like he was safe. Maybe he was. Or maybe Cairo just understood that Zevrian was the only thing standing between him and death. I need you to understand something, Zevrian said. He set down his coffee cup slowly. Once we go to the compound, we're committed. We stay there until Victor makes a move. And when he does, things are going to get very bad very fast. Bad how? Layla asked. Bad like violence. Bad like people dying. Bad like you might have to do things you never thought you'd do. He leaned forward. Your father was willing to do those things. He was willing to fight. To hurt. To kill if necessary. The question is whether you are. Layla's hand shook. She thought about Rourke. About the cut on her forehead. About 3 years of running. About every moment she'd been afraid. I'll do whatever it takes to protect Cairo, she said. Even if it means becoming like me? She didn't answer right away. She looked at her son. His face was sticky with jam. His eyes were bright. He was safe for now. That was all that mattered. Yes, she said. Even if it means that. Zevrian nodded like she'd passed some kind of test. Then we leave in 2 hours. Pack only what you need. Bring nothing that ties to your old life. He stood and walked to the window. He looked out at the city like it was a chessboard and he was planning his next move. One more thing, he said without turning around. When we get to the compound, I'm going to teach you how to fight. How to use weapons. How to think like someone who doesn't have the luxury of fear. He turned back to her. Are you ready for that? Layla pulled Cairo closer and felt his small hand grip her shirt. No, she said honestly. But I'll do it anyway. Zevrian almost smiled. That's what makes you your father's daughter. The compound sat behind iron gates at the end of a private road. 20 acres surrounded by high walls. Guards at every entrance. Security cameras sweeping the grounds constantly. It looked like a fortress. The main house was massive. 4 stories. Modern design. Windows that looked like they could stop bullets. Zevrian pulled through the gate and parked in the underground garage. No one stopped him. No one questioned. A woman was waiting when they got out of the car. She was tall, muscular, with a scar that ran from her eye to her jaw. She looked at Layla and Cairo without expression. Sarah, Zevrian said. This is Layla and her son Cairo. They're staying in the lower level. No one gets down there except us. Sarah nodded. Understood, sir. Also start rotating extra security. Victor's people are getting bolder. I want tripwire alerts on all outer perimeter. He handed her a folder. This is the threat assessment. 3 teams are looking for us. All experienced. All armed. Treat them like they'll get through the gate. They won't, Sarah said flatly. Good. Sarah disappeared up the stairs. Zevrian led Layla and Cairo through the house. It was cold and expensive. No pictures on the walls. No personal touches. Just space and silence. They went down to the basement. Then another level down. Hidden behind what looked like a solid concrete wall was a door. Zevrian pressed his hand against a panel. The wall slid open. The bunker was different. It had beds. A kitchen. A bathroom. Supplies stacked on shelves. It looked like someone had planned for a long stay. This is home now, Zevrian said. At least until Victor shows up. How long will that take? Layla asked. Days. Maybe a week. He's patient when he wants something. But he's also proud. He won't like that you're untouchable. That'll make him reckless. Layla set Cairo down on one of the beds. He bounced, testing it out. He seemed oblivious to the danger. Or maybe kids just adapted faster than adults. I need to tell you something, Zevrian said. He sat down on the opposite bed. Your mother didn't just disappear after your father died. She ran to Victor. Layla froze. What? She made a deal with him. She took your father's money and she promised to disappear. To keep you hidden. To make sure you never came looking for revenge. My mother worked with the man who killed my father? The words came out in a whisper. Not worked with. Bargained with. She chose survival over vengeance. can't blame her for that. Zevrian looked at her steadily. But it means Victor has owned your life since the day your father died. Every choice you made, every place you went, he knew about it. He was letting you live. Layla sat down hard. She thought about her mother. About the years of running. About being told her father had abandoned them. All of it was a lie. All of it was part of a deal made with a murderer. She's still alive? Layla asked. As far as I know. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? Because you needed to trust me first. And you couldn't do that if you knew your own mother had betrayed you. Zevrian leaned forward. But now you need to understand the full picture. Victor doesn't want you dead. Not really. He wants you compliant. He wants to control you the way he controlled your mother. And if I won't be controlled? Then he has to kill you. Because if you're free, you're a threat. You're your father's child. You're someone who might come looking for answers. Someone who might want justice. Layla stood up and walked to the corner of the bunker. She looked at the supplies, the beds, the concrete walls. This was her life now. Hiding. Waiting. I want to see her, she said. My mother. Before any of this goes further, I need to see her. Zevrian was quiet for a long moment. That's dangerous. If Victor finds out you're trying to contact her. I don't care. She owes me answers. Zevrian nodded slowly. Okay, I'll arrange it. But we do it my way. We do it carefully. When? Tomorrow. Tonight you rest. Cairo rests. And tomorrow morning, you finally get to ask your mother why she chose fear over truth. Layla looked back at her son sleeping on the bed. He looked peaceful. Safe. She didn't feel either of those things. Everything she believed about her life was wrong. Her father hadn't abandoned her. Her mother had lied to her. Her entire existence was a carefully constructed cage built by a murderer. And she was just now understanding the bars. Morning came early. Layla hadn't really slept. She'd lain awake thinking about her mother. About lies. About control. Zevrian knocked on the bunker door at 6. He had clothes for her. Practical clothes. Black pants. Black shirt. Black shoes. Training starts now, he said. Cairo was still asleep. She checked on him and left a note on the pillow. She knew he'd be fine. Sarah was upstairs if he needed anything. Zevrian took her to a gym on the compound. Concrete floor. Heavy bags. Weights. Training mats. No windows. Just walls and equipment. Your father was strong, Zevrian said. He was already wearing workout gloves. But strength isn't enough against someone like Victor. You need technique. You need speed. You need to know how to hurt someone efficiently. He showed her the basics. How to stand. How to breathe. How to make a fist. It seemed simple until he had her punch the heavy bag. Her knuckles exploded with pain. Technique first, he said. Power comes later. They trained for an hour. Her hands got wrapped. He taught her how to throw a proper punch. How to keep her wrists straight. How to use her legs for power. By the end she was sweating. Her arms felt like lead. Her knuckles were raw even under the wraps. Good, he said. Same time tomorrow. Why are you teaching me this? She asked, breathing hard. Because Victor sends physical threats. And when they come, you need to be able to handle them. He took off his gloves. Also because your mother was weak. And that weakness got your father killed. Layla's head snapped up. What? Your father wanted your mother to learn to fight. To be ready for what was coming. She refused. She said she was a pacifist. She said violence wasn't the answer. Zevrian looked at her directly. 2 men came to kill your father. Your mother couldn't stop them. Your father had to choose between protecting her or protecting himself. He chose her. That's why he died. That's not fair, Layla said. No, it's not. But it's true. And the only way to make sure it doesn't happen to Cairo is to make sure you never have to make that choice. They went upstairs. Zevrian had arranged a video call with her mother. It was set up in a private office with 1 camera and 1 screen. Nothing that could be traced. Nothing that could give away locations. Her mother's face appeared on the screen. She looked older than Layla remembered. Thinner. Her hair was gray. She looked scared. Layla? Her mother's voice came through the speaker. Is that really you? Hi, Mom. Oh my God. Are you safe? Are you? Why did you make a deal with Victor? Layla asked. No point in wasting time. Her mother's face went white. She started to cry. Because he was going to kill you, her mother said through tears. After your father died, Victor came to me. He said you were a loose end. He said he would let you live if I promised to disappear. If I promised to keep you hidden. If I promised to never let you know the truth. You lied to me my whole life. I kept you alive, her mother said. That was the choice. Your life or the truth. I chose your life. And now Victor wants to control me anyway. Yes. Because you're old enough now. Because you're no longer a child he needs to let live. Because he's tired of the arrangement. Her mother leaned closer to the screen. Layla, you need to run. You need to take Cairo and run as far as you can. I'm done running, Layla said quietly. I'm done hiding. I'm done being afraid. She looked at Zevrian standing by the door. He nodded once. I'm going to fight back, Layla told her mother. And when Victor comes for me, I'm going to make sure he never comes for anyone else. You'll die, her mother whispered. Maybe. But I won't die running. And I won't die without knowing the truth. Her mother started to say something, but Layla gestured to Zevrian. He disconnected the call. That's the first test, he said. You looked your mother in the eye and you didn't break. You chose action over fear. I don't feel strong, Layla said. That's because strength isn't a feeling. It's a choice. You walked to the door. Now you understand. Your mother chose safety. Your father chose protection. And you're going to choose something different. What's that? Zevrian looked back at her. War. 3 days of training. Layla's hands were wrapped constantly. Her arms ached. Her legs felt like concrete. But she was getting stronger. She could see it in the mirror. She could feel it in her movements. Cairo stayed in the bunker with Sarah, bringing him food and games. He seemed happy. Oblivious. A kid living in a fortress with no idea why. On the morning of the 4th day, Zevrian brought her to a different room. This one had monitors. Screens showing feeds from the compound perimeter. Outside the gates. The roads leading up to the property. Victor made his first move, Zevrian said. He pointed to the screen showing the main road. A black car was parked a quarter-mile away. 2 men inside. Watching. That's one team, he continued. He clicked through more screens. Another car. Different angle. 2 more men. That's the second team. And the third is here. He showed her a van parked across from the back entrance. They're surrounding us, Layla said. Yes. They've been there for 18 hours. Victor is testing how we respond. He's watching. Waiting to see if we run. Will we? No. Zevrian pulled up a map of the compound. We're going to do something different. We're going to show Victor that we know he's here. That we're not afraid. And that attacking this compound would be the worst decision he could make. He explained the plan. Sarah and 2 other guards would drive out the front gate. Obvious. Visible. The surveillance teams would see them and report back to Victor. While that was happening, Zevrian would have his security sweep the perimeter. Check the other teams. Make sure they knew they'd been found. This is a message, Zevrian said. We're saying we see you. We're not hiding. Come get us if you dare. And if he does? If he actually attacks? Then we're ready. He pulled up another screen. This one showed weapons. Guns. Rifles. Explosives. My people are better trained. Better armed. Better positioned. This is my fortress, Layla. Victor knows that. But he's betting that I won't have the stomach to actually defend it. Will you? Zevrian looked at her. His eyes were empty. Like someone had hollowed him out years ago and left nothing but hunger inside. I'll burn this entire compound to the ground if it means keeping you in Cairo safe, he said. I'll kill everyone who comes through that gate. I'll do whatever it takes. The plan worked. By evening, Victor's surveillance teams had withdrawn. The message was received. They were ready. That night, Layla sat with Cairo in the bunker. The boy was asleep against her side. She held him and thought about what was coming. Zevrian appeared in the doorway around midnight. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Probably hadn't. Victor's consolidating his forces, he said. He's gathering men. Real soldiers. Ex-military. The kind of people who won't hesitate to die if it means taking us down. How many? More than I expected. More than he should be able to gather this fast. Zevrian sat down across from her. Which means he's desperate. Which means my presence is a bigger threat to him than I realized. Why? Because I'm the only person who knows how to dismantle his operation from the inside. Your father and I, we knew his weaknesses. We knew where the money was. We knew who the corrupt officials were. And I'm still alive, which means that knowledge didn't die with your father. Layla understood. She was the reason Victor had kept her mother alive. But Zevrian was the real threat. He's going to attack soon, Zevrian continued. Within the next 2 days. He needs to end this before I can move against him. What do? We prepare for war. He stood up. Tomorrow we move to the reinforced section. Deeper into the bunker. safer. You'll have weapons. You'll have communication. And you'll have the knowledge that every guard on this compound is willing to die to keep you alive. Because of my father? Because of your father. Because of what we promised him. And because you're worth protecting, Layla. Whether you believe that yet or not. He left her alone with Cairo. Outside, somewhere in the darkness, Victor was gathering his forces. And inside this bunker, a single mother with 3 days of combat training was preparing to go to war against a man who'd controlled her entire life. She didn't feel ready, but she was done waiting to feel ready. The deeper bunker was a fortress within a fortress. Concrete walls 2 feet thick. One entrance. A weapons locker. Enough food and water for a month. Security monitors showing every part of the compound above. Layla moved her and Cairo's things down. Sarah came with them. A second guard named Marcus stayed at the entrance. He had a rifle and zero expression. Stay here, Zevrian told her. No matter what you hear, you stay in this room. You keep Cairo calm. You don't leave. Where are you going? To the control room. I need to coordinate with my people. He looked at her like he was memorizing her face. If something happens. Nothing's going to happen, Layla said. She didn't believe it, but she said it anyway. If something happens, Zevrian continued, Marcus has instructions. He'll get you and Cairo out through the emergency tunnels. There's a car waiting. Supplies. Money. Everything you need to disappear. I'm not running. You will if it means keeping your son alive. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Your job is survival. My job is making sure you survive. He turned and left before she could argue. Cairo was playing with his toys on the bed. He didn't understand what was happening. He just knew that Mama was tense and the adults were moving fast. Layla sat next to him and pulled him close. We're playing a game, she told him. We have to stay in this room for a while. It's like hide and seek. We're hiding really good. From who? Cairo asked. From bad people. But there are good people protecting us. Is Zevrian protecting us? Yes, he is. Cairo seemed satisfied with that answer. He went back to his toys. Layla watched the monitors. She could see the compound above. Guards moving into position. Weapons being distributed. Barriers going up. Hours passed. Around 2 a.m., the monitors showed movement at the perimeter. A van approaching from the north road. 2 trucks behind it. Men getting out. Armed men. Lots of them. Layla's pulse jumped. The guards on the compound opened fire. The first truck exploded, not from the guards but from an explosive inside it. A trap. Victor's men had driven a bomb straight at the compound. The second truck accelerated toward the main gate. More explosions. More gunfire. The compound was under full assault. Sarah appeared in the bunker entrance. She looked at Layla and nodded once. We need to move. Now. What's happening? Exactly what we expected. Sarah was already loading weapons. Victor brought everything he had. This is all or nothing for him. What about Zevrian? He's handling it. No. I need to. You need to protect your son, Sarah said flatly. She looked at Cairo then back at Layla. That's what Zevrian would want. That's what your father would want. Layla's hand shook. She picked up Cairo who was starting to cry. Come on, baby. We're going to the car now. Marcus opened the emergency exit. A tunnel that went downward, then sideways, then up. Lights on the wall showing the way. They moved through it quickly. Behind them she could hear explosions. Gunfire. The sounds of war being fought above. At the end of the tunnel was a garage. A black car. Keys in the ignition. Money in a bag on the passenger seat. Sarah opened the driver's side door. There's a safe house 40 minutes north. The address is written on the envelope with the money. You go there. You stay there. You don't contact anyone until Zevrian reaches you. I'm not leaving without him, Layla said. He's not done fighting yet. Sarah's voice was hard. And he can't fight if he's worried about you. The best thing you can do for him is to take your son and drive north. That's it. That's how you help him. The building shook. Another explosion. Dust fell from the ceiling. Layla put Cairo in the back seat and got behind the wheel. She looked back at Sarah. If anything happens to him? It won't, Sarah said. Zevrian Kale doesn't lose. Not when it matters. Layla started the car. As she drove up and out of the garage, she looked back one more time. Sarah was already running back toward the tunnel, toward the gunfire, toward the war. And Layla understood something in that moment. She wasn't just bonded to Zevrian through gratitude or necessity. She was bonded to him through respect. Through the knowledge that he was willing to burn everything down for her and her son. That bond was stronger than fear. She drove north into the darkness, leaving the war behind. The safe house was a cabin. Isolated. No neighbors for miles. Deep in the forest with a long driveway that you could see from the windows. Security camera at the gate. Everything Zevrian would have planned. Layla pulled into the garage and closed the door behind her. For the first time in hours she could breathe. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely grip the steering wheel. Cairo had cried himself to sleep in the back seat. She carried him inside and put him on a bed in the first room. He didn't wake up. His little body was exhausted from fear and adrenaline. She found the kitchen. Made coffee. Sat at the table and tried to stop shaking. Her phone had no signal. No way to contact Zevrian. No way to know if he was alive. The cabin had a landline. She found it and called the number Zevrian had given her. It rang once and disconnected. A dead line. A message, don't call back. Don't take risks. Hours passed. The sun came up. Layla hadn't slept. Around 9 a.m. a car pulled up the driveway. She grabbed a knife from the kitchen. Moved to the window. Wash. It was Zevrian. He was moving slowly. One side of his shirt was torn and blood-stained. He had a gash on his forehead. But he was alive and moving on his own. Layla dropped the knife and ran outside. He was already out of the car. She hit him hard, pulling him into a grip that was half hug, half violence. "You're alive?" she said into his chest. "Oh my God, you're alive." "Most of me," he said. His voice was rough. Like his throat had been cut. "Victor sent 80 men. We eliminated 78 of them. What about the other 2? They ran." Zevrian pulled back and looked at her. "You did good. You got out. You got Cairo to safety." "How bad was it?" "Bad." He limped into the cabin. She helped him to a chair. His left side was worse than his right. Something in that shoulder was wrong, the way he held it, the way he couldn't move his arm properly. "We lost 6 people. Sarah's dead. Marcus is in the hospital." Layla felt the weight of that land on her. Sarah, who had forced her to leave. Sarah, who had run back into the gunfire. "I'm sorry," Layla said. "Don't be." She knew what she was signing up for. Zevrian sat down carefully. "What matters is that you're alive. Cairo's alive." "What about Victor?" "Got away. His personal detail pulled him out before the last assault wave. He was in a helicopter by the time my people reached his position." Layla sat across from him. "So he's still out there. Still hunting us." "Not hunting anymore." Zevrian's eyes were hard. "Now he's running. Because I hit him harder than he expected. Because I showed him that his power isn't absolute. Because every person he sends after you is going to die." "What happens now?" Zevrian leaned back in the chair. He looked like someone who'd been broken and glued back together with nails. "Now I go after him. I find his operation. His money. His people. And I take it all apart, piece by piece. Alone? With people I trust. People who know how to do this." He looked at her. "You stay here. You take care of Cairo. You stay safe." "I want to help," Layla said. "You are helping. By existing. By surviving. By being the reason I'm still fighting instead of dead in that compound. That's not enough. It's everything." Zevrian stood up. It took him a long time. His body was screaming. "Your father died because he fought. Your mother lived because she hid. You're going to live and you're going to win because you're going to be patient. You're going to be smart. And you're not going to throw your life away chasing revenge. That's not what I want." "Then what do you want?" Layla looked toward the bedroom where Cairo was sleeping. "I want Cairo to grow up knowing his mother survived. Knowing his mother was strong. Knowing that evil doesn't win." Zevrian nodded. "Then that's what you do. You stay here. You keep your son alive. You let me handle the rest." He walked to the window and looked out at the forest. His shoulders were tense. His fists were clenched. "Victor sent his best," he said quietly. "And they died. He sent his money. And I took it. He sent his will. And I crushed it." He turned back to her. "But he's still alive. And that means this isn't over." "When will it be over?" "When one of us is dead." He left 2 hours later. Sarah's replacement, a quiet woman named Elena, stayed behind to watch the cabin. And Layla understood. This wasn't a story with a quick ending. This was a story that was just beginning to unfold. And everyone caught in it was going to have to survive the unraveling. 2 weeks at the cabin. Layla had settled into a routine. Wake up. Make breakfast. Play with Cairo. Try not to think about what was happening in the city. Elena stayed in the background. She was competent and silent. She checked the perimeter twice a day. She monitored communications. She kept them safe without making them feel trapped. Zevrian called once. His voice came through the landline clear and controlled. Victor's operation is falling apart, he said. I've moved against his money. His supply routes are being shut down. His people are being arrested or killed. He's smaller now. Is it over? Layla asked. Not yet. But we're close. The line went dead. 3 days later, Zevrian showed up in person. He looked better. The wound in his shoulder had healed enough that he could move his arm. His face was still bruised, but the cuts were closing. Cairo ran to him immediately. The boy had gotten attached. He climbed into Zevrian's lap like it was the most natural thing in the world. Hey buddy, Zevrian said. He ruffled Cairo's hair. How's the cabin? Boring, Cairo said. Mama says we have to stay inside. Your mama is smart. We have to stay safe. Layla watched them. There was something in the way Zevrian held her son. Protective. Genuine. Like Cairo mattered to him beyond just being a tool or a responsibility. After Cairo fell asleep, Zevrian sat with her on the porch. The sun was setting. The forest was quiet. I need to ask you something, he said. And I need you to answer honestly. Okay. Do you hate me? The question caught her off guard. What? No. Why would I? Because I killed people to protect you. Because I've put you in danger. Because everything that's happened to you since the alley is because of me. Layla thought about that. About Rourke. About her mother's betrayal. About being hunted. About Victor. About all of it. No, she said. I don't hate you. But, she paused. I trust you. And I don't trust easily. Zevrian nodded slowly. Your father said the same thing to me once. He said trust was the only real currency. That everything else was just numbers and fear. Did you trust him? More than I've trusted anyone since. Zevrian looked out at the forest. When he died, I thought that part of me died too. I thought I couldn't trust anyone again. And now I'm reconsidering. He turned to look at her. I chose you in that alley, Layla. I could have driven past. I could have let you run. But I didn't. And that choice changed everything. What? Why did you choose me? Because you looked like someone worth saving. Because Cairo deserved better than fear. Because I recognized something in your desperation that matched something in me. He paused. And because when I looked at you, I saw your father. Tears came to her eyes. She didn't wipe them away. I'm not my father, she said. I know. You're better. You're someone who survived without becoming hard. Someone who went through hell and didn't let it destroy your capacity to care. He looked at her directly. Your father would be proud of you. How do you know that? Because I knew him. And I know you. And the comparison isn't even close. You're stronger than he was. Stronger than I am. Layla didn't feel strong. She felt fragile. Like she was held together by threads and luck. What happens after Victor? She asked. After Victor is dead and his operation is gone, you get to choose. You can disappear. Start over. Give Cairo a normal life. Would you let me? Zevrian was quiet for a long moment. No, he finally said. But I would understand if you needed to. I don't want to disappear, Layla said. I don't want to hide anymore. Then what do you want? She thought about it. About Cairo. About Zevrian. About her father and his promises. About survival and strength and trust. I want to help you, she said. I want to finish what my father started. Zevrian's expression didn't change. But something in his eyes shifted. Recognition. Respect. Maybe even hope. Then that's what we'll do, he said quietly. Together. Zevrian spent the night. He sat with Layla in the cabin's main room while Elena kept watch outside. He told her things he'd never told anyone. Your father and I met in prison, he said. Both young. Both angry. Both convinced the world was rigged against us. Layla didn't interrupt. She just listened. We got out the same week. Made a deal with each other. We were going to build something that couldn't be broken. Something that couldn't be bought. He paused. We started small. Loans to people the banks wouldn't touch. Protection for businesses the mob had targeted. We were doing the work the government wouldn't do. And Victor? Layla asked. Victor was already powerful. Old money. Russian connections. He controlled half the city through fear and corruption. Zevrian's jaw tightened. But he didn't control the south side. That was your father's territory. That was mine. And we were growing. So he killed my father to stop you. He killed your father to send me a message. He sent men with knives. They told your father they would spare him if he gave up the operation. If he handed over the money and disappeared. Layla waited for him to continue. Your father refused. He said some things are worth dying for. He said power without principles is just tyranny. Zevrian looked at his hands. They cut his throat in front of your mother. Then they came for me. What happened? I survived. And I changed. His voice went flat. I realized your father had been wrong about something. He thought we could build something clean. Something that didn't require violence. He was naive. And you weren't. Not anymore. Zevrian met her eyes. I decided that if Victor wanted a war, I'd give him one. But I needed time. I needed to build power quietly. I needed money, connections, people who owed me favors. So you stopped. Completely. I disappeared for 7 years. Your father's death made international news for about a week. Then it went away. I made sure it went away. I made sure his operation dissolved. I made sure you and your mother were protected. By making a deal with Victor? By threatening Victor, Zevrian corrected. I told him that if anything happened to you or your mother, I would burn his entire operation to the ground. I told him I had evidence of every crime he'd committed. I told him I would give it all to the FBI if he didn't let you live. Layla's chest tightened. So all this time I was building the power to make good on that threat. I was gathering evidence, making allies, preparing for the day when Victor got impatient, when he decided you were more valuable dead than alive. And that day came. It came when you got old enough to inherit your father's assets, when you became a real threat instead of just a loose end. Zevrian leaned forward. I've been watching you for years, Layla, making sure you stayed safe, making sure you had what you needed. I didn't know any of this. I know, because if you knew, you'd be in danger. If Victor thought you understood what you had coming to you, he would have moved faster. Layla stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the dark forest. Everything she thought she understood was wrong again. Why are you telling me this now? She asked. Because you're ready. Because you've survived the test. Because now it's time for you to know who you actually are and what you're actually fighting for. She turned back to face him. Your father left you money? Zevrian continued. Not a lot. Not by my standards. But enough. Enough to disappear. Enough to live. Enough to build something of your own. And you? What do you get? What I've always wanted. Revenge. His expression didn't change. Victor destroyed my partnership with your father. He destroyed my belief that we could build something clean. Every year since, I've been waiting to take it all away from him. Even if it cost you your life? Yes. Layla understood something then. She understood why Zevrian had chosen to save her in that alley. It wasn't random. It wasn't chance. It was the final piece of a 7-year plan to take down Viktor Volkov. She was the bait, the incentive, the reason. But she was also something else now. She was the legacy of her father's dream. And whether she'd been chosen as a weapon or not, she'd become something real. What happens to Cairo? She asked. Cairo gets to grow up, Zevrian said. He gets to be normal. He gets to have choices his mother never had. By using me to finish your war. Yes. She appreciated the honesty. She appreciated that he didn't pretend it was anything other than what it was. Then let's finish it, she said. Let's take Victor down and get this over with. Zevrian nodded. Then we prepare. Because Victor is wounded and desperate. And desperate men do desperate things. The next morning, Layla woke to find Cairo sitting with Zevrian on the porch. They were eating cereal. Just sitting there like it was a normal day. She watched them for a moment. Zevrian was pointing at something in the forest. Cairo was listening intently. The boy was completely comfortable with him. No fear. No hesitation. She realized something then. Cairo didn't understand that Zevrian was dangerous. To Cairo he was just the man who kept them safe. The man who gave him toys and made him feel protected. Children were simple that way. They didn't judge. They didn't carry the weight of history or betrayal. They just knew who fed them, who held them, who made them feel less afraid. Zevrian saw her and waved her over. She joined them. Your son has questions, Zevrian said. Cairo looked up at her with serious eyes. Is the bad man still trying to find us? Layla's heart squeezed. She looked at Zevrian, then back at her son. Yes, baby, she said honestly. But we're going to stop him. How? By being stronger. By working together. By not giving up. Cairo nodded like that made perfect sense. He went back to eating his cereal. He asked me if I was scared, Zevrian said quietly. I told him I wasn't. He asked me why. I said because his mama was brave. Layla felt something crack open inside her. She pulled Cairo close. That afternoon, Zevrian left to continue his work in the city. Before he went, he sat down with Cairo one more time. "I need you to be strong," he told the boy. "I need you to take care of your mama while I'm gone." Cairo nodded seriously. "Okay, I'm the man. I have to protect her." Zevrian looked at Layla. His expression didn't change, but she saw something in his eyes. Recognition. Respect for the boy's instinct to protect. After he left, Cairo was different. More confident. He held Layla's hand tighter. He paid more attention to what Elena was doing. He understood, on some level that children understand, that he had a role to play. That night, Layla watched her son sleep. She thought about what Zevrian had said. About him being the man. About protecting her. He was 4 years old. She thought about her father, who had died protecting her mother. She thought about Zevrian, who had spent 7 years building power to protect her. She thought about Cairo, who was already learning that love meant sacrifice. The cycle was continuing. Generation to generation. Men building walls to protect women. Women raising sons to be protectors. On and on forever. She didn't want that for Cairo. She wanted him to have choices. She wanted him to choose protection because he wanted to, not because he had to. But first she had to survive. First Victor had to die. First this war had to end. Then maybe she could give her son something different. Elena brought her a phone the next morning. It was encrypted. Secure. Zevrian's message was simple: time to move. Layla understood. The pieces were in position. Victor was cornered. The endgame was starting. She looked at Cairo, who was drawing pictures with colored pencils. Pictures of houses and trees and stick figures holding hands. "We're leaving soon," she told him. "Going home?" Cairo asked. "Yes," she said. "Going home." She didn't know what home would look like. She didn't know what her life would be after Victor was gone. But she knew one thing: Cairo would be safe. Cairo would survive. Cairo would grow up knowing that his mother had fought for him. That was all that mattered. Elena came in with bags already packed. Layla picked up Cairo and held him close. "Are you scared?" Cairo asked, looking up at her. Layla thought about Zevrian saying he wasn't scared because she was brave. She thought about her father dying for principle. She thought about her mother choosing safety over truth. "No," she told her son. "I'm not scared. Because you're with me." They walked to the car. Behind them, Elena locked the cabin. The safe house was no longer needed. The war was moving to its final stage. And Layla was walking into it with her son's hand in hers and her father's blood in her veins. They drove to a different safe house. This one was in the city. A penthouse in a building Zevrian owned through a shell company. 40 stories up. One elevator. One entrance. Completely controlled. Zevrian was waiting when they arrived. He had documents spread across a table. Photographs. Financial records. Evidence. Cairo ran to him immediately. Zevrian lifted the boy and set him in front of the TV with headphones and cartoons. "He needs to not hear this," Zevrian said. Layla sat down and looked at the documents. Bank transfers. Names. Locations. "Victor's entire operation is here," Zevrian said. "Every piece. Every connection. Every compromised official. Everything we need to destroy him." "What's the plan?" Layla asked. "We have 3 objectives," Zevrian said. He pointed to a map of the city. "First we take his money. It's in accounts across 5 banks. I have people ready to move it. Once it's transferred, Victor loses leverage. He loses power." He pointed to another location. "Second, we shut down his supply chain. His drugs. His weapons. Everything he sells. I've already started. His distribution network is collapsing. His people are being arrested or killed. By who? By me. By people who work for me. By corrupt cops who suddenly decided they want to be honest." Zevrian's jaw was tight. Victor built his empire on fear and money. Take away both and what's left? "A desperate man," Layla said. "Exactly. And desperate men make mistakes." He pointed to a third location. A warehouse on the east side. "This is where Victor operates from. This is where he keeps what's left of his organization. And this is where we end this." "How?" "You and I walk in there. Together. And we force him to choose, surrender or die." Layla looked at the warehouse location. At the plan laid out on the map. "He won't surrender," she said. "No. He won't. So he dies." "Yes." Layla stood up and walked to the window. 40 stories down, the city spread out below them. Thousands of people. Millions of decisions. Millions of lives being lived while hers balanced on the edge of violence. What about after? She asked. After he's dead. What happens to us? Zevrian was quiet for a long moment. After he's dead, I disappear. I take my people and we vanish. My empire gets dismantled. My accounts get liquidated. Everything I built gets erased. Why? Because my existence is a threat. Because as long as I'm alive and powerful, there will be people coming after me. After you. After Cairo. He stood up and joined her at the window. I've spent 7 years building power. Now I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure it doesn't follow you. You're giving up everything. I'm giving you a choice. I'm giving Cairo a future. Layla understood then. This wasn't about vengeance anymore. This was about redemption. Zevrian was going to end Victor and then he was going to erase himself from their lives. When? She asked. 3 days. I need 3 days to move the money. To shut down the supply chains. To position my people. He looked at her. 3 days and this is over. And if we fail? We don't. His certainty was absolute. Like he'd calculated every variable and knew exactly how the next 72 hours would play out. She wanted to ask him if he was scared. But she knew the answer. Zevrian didn't get scared. He got focused. That night, after Cairo was asleep, Layla sat with Zevrian. He was reviewing the documents again. Cross-referencing. Double-checking every detail. Why did you really choose me in that alley? She asked. He looked up. Because you reminded me of your father. Because I couldn't let history repeat. Because I needed someone to survive who deserved to survive. And the 7 years? Watching me. Making sure you stayed alive. Making sure you stayed hidden. Making sure when the moment came you'd be ready. For this. For your life, Zevrian said. After all of this is over, you're going to have a life. A real one. You're going to raise Cairo. You're going to be happy. You're going to forget about Victor and me and all of this blood. I won't forget about you. Yes, you will. Or you'll try to. And that's okay. He turned back to the documents. That's the whole point. You get to be free. Layla watched him work. She understood that this man had sacrificed everything for her. For a promise he'd made to her father. For a belief that some things were worth fighting for. In 3 days it would all end. And then her real life could begin. 3 days passed exactly as Zevrian had planned. On day 1, Victor's money disappeared. Every account. Every wire transfer. Billions of dollars moved to accounts he couldn't access. By midnight, he'd lost his primary source of power. On day 2, his supply chains collapsed. His warehouses were raided by federal agents. Not because of anything Zevrian did, but because the evidence Zevrian had been collecting went to the right people. FBI. Internal Affairs. Victor's network of corruption suddenly became public record. On day 3, Victor had nothing left but his pride and his people. Zevrian and Layla drove to the warehouse at midnight. It was dark. Industrial. Empty streets around it. Elena stayed with Cairo at the penthouse. He knows we're coming, Zevrian said as they pulled up. I made sure he knew. Isn't that dangerous? No. It's necessary. Victor needs to know that he lost. That he was outmaneuvered. That everything he built was broken by a man he thought he'd already killed. They walked in together. Layla's hands were shaking, but she kept them steady. Zevrian had taught her how to do that. How to hide fear. Victor was inside with 20 men. All armed. All professional. He sat in a chair in the center of the warehouse like a king on a throne. He was older than Layla expected. Gray hair. Scarred face. Eyes that had seen everything and killed most of it. Zevrian, Victor said. His voice was calm. Almost pleasant. I was wondering when you'd show your face. Your operation is finished, Zevrian said. He didn't stop walking. Didn't acknowledge the guns pointed at him. Your money is gone. Your supply chains are shut down. Your people are being arrested as we speak. Victor laughed. It was a sound like gravel being crushed. And you think this changes anything? I still have men. I still have power. You have nothing, Zevrian said. He reached the center of the warehouse. Victor stood up. You've changed, Victor said, looking at Layla. This is Marcus's daughter, yes? Yes, Layla said. Her voice didn't shake. You look like him. Same eyes. Same stubbornness. Victor smiled. It was a terrible smile. Do you know what your father's last words were? I don't care, Layla said. Victor's smile faded. He looked at Zevrian. You've trained her well. I didn't train her, Zevrian said. She trained herself. Every day she woke up and chose to survive. Every day she chose to be stronger. Victor raised his hand. His men started to move. Zevrian moved first. He was faster than Layla had ever seen him. He pulled a gun and fired without hesitation. The shot was perfect. Victor went down. Blood spread across the concrete floor. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Zevrian's people appeared from the shadows. Elena, Marcus recovered from the hospital, others Layla didn't recognize. They moved with precision, with purpose. Guns blazed. Men fell. It was over in seconds. Victor was on the ground, blood pooling beneath him. Zevrian walked over and looked down at him. For Marcus, Zevrian said quietly. He fired once more. Victor's body went still. Layla didn't look away. She understood that this was what it cost to survive. This was what it looked like when you chose to fight back. This was the price of freedom. Zevrian turned to her. Blood spattered his jacket. His expression was empty. It's done, he said. They walked out of the warehouse together. Outside, the city was waking up. Dawn was breaking. Police sirens wailed in the distance. We have an hour before they get here, Zevrian said. In that hour, I disappear. Elena will get you and Cairo out of the city. To the airport. To a new life. And you? I cease to exist. The penthouse is already being cleaned. The company is being liquidated. Everything I've built is being dismantled. They drove back to the penthouse in silence. Cairo was still sleeping. Layla held him one more time, just held him and felt his small heart beating against hers. Zevrian stood in the doorway. Thank you, Layla said. For what? For choosing me. For saving us. For finishing what my father started. Zevrian nodded. Your father would be proud. Not just of you surviving, but of you becoming strong enough to stand beside someone like me and not be afraid. I am afraid, Layla said. I know. That's what makes you brave. He turned and walked away. Elena led Layla and Cairo out the back exit, down the service stairs, to a car waiting in the garage. As they drove away from the penthouse, Layla looked back once. She saw Zevrian standing in the window 40 stories up, watching them leave. Then a hand pulled him back into the shadows. He was gone. And Layla finally understood. She was free. The airport terminal was crowded. Normal people going to normal places. Layla and Cairo sat in the departure lounge waiting for their flight. Cairo had a juice box. He was drawing in a notebook. Just a regular kid. No idea what had happened. No knowledge of the blood on the warehouse floor or the man who died so he could be free. Layla held a passport with a new name. Elena had handled all of it. Fake but perfect. Clean history. Clean records. A woman and her son, disappearing into a new life. She kept checking her phone. No messages from Zevrian. No way to contact him. He was gone like he'd promised. Erased. But she thought about him constantly. About the warehouse. About the way he'd looked when he pulled the trigger. Like he was finally finishing something that had started 7 years ago. Like he could finally breathe. A woman sat down next to her. Layla tensed, but it was just someone waiting for a flight. Just someone's mother or sister or wife. Just someone else caught in the machinery of survival. Layla wondered how many stories like hers existed in this airport. How many people were running. How many were hiding. How many were finally free. The boarding call came. She stood up and took Cairo's hand. Are we going on the plane now? He asked. Yes, baby. We're going on the plane. Where are we going? Layla looked out the window at the city she was leaving behind. The city where she'd run into an alley. Where she'd gotten into a car with a stranger. Where she'd discovered that her father was a legend. Where she'd learned to fight. Where she'd met a man who'd sacrificed everything for her. We're going somewhere safe, she told Cairo. Somewhere we can be just us. No more running. No more hiding. They boarded the plane. Layla sat by the window with Cairo in the middle seat. The plane filled with passengers. The doors closed. As the plane pushed back from the gate, Layla felt something release inside her. 3 years of fear. 6 months of warfare. A lifetime of lies. It was all finally over. She looked down at Cairo, who was already half asleep from the excitement and exhaustion. His face was peaceful. His breathing steady. He was going to grow up in a world where nobody was hunting him. Where he could just be a kid. That was Zevrian's gift. That was what he'd bought with blood and sacrifice. Tears came. Not sad tears. Just tears. Release. Grief and gratitude mixed together. She thought about her father, who died because he believed in principles. She thought about her mother, who'd survived by compromising everything. She thought about Zevrian, who'd found a middle path, fighting without losing his humanity, being ruthless without being cruel. And she thought about herself, about who she'd become. She was her father's daughter, but she was also her own person. She was brave but not reckless. She was strong but not hard. She was free but not untethered. The plane took off. The city disappeared below them. Layla closed her eyes and let the motion of the aircraft rock her into something like peace. Hours later, as they descended toward a new city, Layla woke Cairo gently. "Come on, baby. We're landing." The boy rubbed his eyes and looked out the window at the new world below. "Mama," he said, "are we going to see Zevrian again?" Layla's heart stopped. She didn't know how to answer. She didn't know if Zevrian was alive or dead. She didn't know if she'd ever see him again. "I don't know," she said honestly. "But if we do, it means everything is really okay." "Okay," Cairo said. He seemed satisfied with that. The plane touched down. The wheels hit tarmac. And Layla understood that her old life was over. The girl who'd hidden in a car was gone. The woman who'd run was gone. Who she was now was someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who'd been forged in fire and survived. She gathered her son and walked into her new beginning. Behind her, somewhere in the city she'd left, a man was learning how to live without power. A man was learning how to exist in shadows. A man was finally, after 7 years, learning how to be free from the burden of vengeance. And he watched the city from a distance, knowing that somewhere in the world, a woman and her son were safe. That was enough. That was everything. 6 months passed. Layla and Cairo were living in a small town in Oregon. A quiet place where nobody knew who they were. Cairo was in preschool. Layla was working as a manager at a restaurant. Normal life. Real life. She'd changed her name. Changed her appearance. Cut her hair short and dyed it blonde. She was someone else now. Someone safe. But she thought about Zevrian every day. The letter came to a post office box under her new name. No return address. Just her name and a box number. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a single page handwritten. "Layla, if you're reading this, the second part of your inheritance has been activated. Your father left you more than money. He left you information. Information that will change how you understand everything that happened. There's a bank in Portland. Go there. Ask for safety deposit box 447. The password is Cairo's birthday. Inside you'll find the full truth. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you sooner. You had to become who you needed to become first. You had to survive on your own strength. Your father would be proud. I know I am. See." Layla read the letter 3 times. She burned it in the kitchen sink. Then she drove to Portland. The bank was old money. Marble floors. Quiet voices. She found the safety deposit box area and located 447. Inside was a file. Old photographs. Documents. Newspaper clippings. She opened the file with trembling hands. The first document was a birth certificate. Her father's name was listed. But so was another name. A woman's name she didn't recognize. Marcus Chin and Elena Volkov. Layla's mind froze. Elena. The woman who'd been guarding her. The woman who'd worked for Zevrian. Elena Volkov. She read the next document. It was a marriage certificate. Dated before Layla was born. Her father had been married to Elena Volkov. Elena. Victor's daughter. The pieces started falling into place. She kept reading. There were letters. Love letters between her father and Elena. Letters that spoke of a woman who'd run away from her father's criminal empire. A woman who'd fallen in love with a man trying to build something different. A woman who'd chosen love over loyalty. Her father had married Elena Volkov in secret. Elena had promised to help him build something clean. Elena had promised to use her knowledge of Victor's operation to help Zevrian and Marcus take him down. But then Elena had gotten pregnant. With Layla. And Victor had found out. The last letter was from Marcus. Dated the day he died. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. It means Victor finally made his move. I want you to understand something, Layla. Your mother isn't the woman you think she is. Your mother is Elena Volkov. And she loved your father more than she loved her own life. When Victor found out about us, about you, he gave Elena an ultimatum. Disappear or watch me die. She chose to disappear. She changed her name. She gave up everything. She raised you alone because it was the only way to keep you alive. The woman you think of as your mother is a hero. And she deserves your forgiveness, even if she never deserves your trust. I love you, Layla. I wish I could have known you. But at least now you know. You come from love, not betrayal. You come from sacrifice, not weakness. Be strong. Be kind. And forgive her for choosing life over truth. Layla sat down on the floor of the safety deposit box room. She couldn't breathe. Her mother wasn't just some woman who'd hidden her. Her mother was Elena. Her mother was Victor's daughter. Her mother had renounced her own family to be with Layla's father. And Zevrian had known this the entire time. She drove back to the small town. She sat in her car for 2 hours before going inside. Cairo was already in bed. She sat on the edge of his mattress and just looked at him. Her son. The product of love and sacrifice. The reason people had bled and died. She called the phone number Zevrian had given her before he disappeared. A number that supposedly didn't exist. He answered on the first ring. Like he'd been waiting. "You read the file," he said. "Why didn't you tell me?" Layla's voice was shaking. "Because you needed to survive as yourself first. You needed to know who you were before you understood who your parents were." "My mother is Elena. Victor's daughter." "Yes." "And you've known the entire time." "Yes." Layla felt rage and gratitude warring inside her. "Why? Why help me if you knew who she was?" "Because your father asked me to," Zevrian said quietly. "And because Elena made a choice. She chose love over blood. She chose you over her family. Does my mother know?" "That I know." "She does now. I told her yesterday." Layla understood then. The letter had come because Zevrian had sent it. The information had been released because Zevrian had decided the time was right. He was still orchestrating. Still pulling strings. Still making decisions for her. "I thought you disappeared," she said. "I did. But some obligations don't disappear. Some promises don't fade." Zevrian paused. "Your mother wants to see you. She's in Portland. She's been in Portland the entire time, watching from a distance, making sure you stayed safe." "Why should I see her?" "Because she's been paying the price for her choice every day of her life. And maybe it's time she stopped paying alone." Layla hung up the phone. She sat in the darkness and understood something profound. This story wasn't over. It would never be over. Because love and blood and sacrifice didn't end. They just transformed. And tomorrow she would drive to Portland. And she would see her mother for the first time, knowing the truth. And everything would change again. Portland was gray and rainy. Layla parked outside a small apartment building and sat in the car for 20 minutes before getting out. Cairo was asleep in the back seat. Elena, the woman who'd been guarding them, was waiting upstairs. Layla climbed the stairs slowly. Every step felt like a choice. She could turn back. She could drive away. She could keep pretending her mother was the woman who'd raised her in fear. But she didn't. She kept walking. Elena opened the door before Layla could knock. She looked smaller than Layla remembered. Older. Her face was marked with scars, not all of them physical. They stood in the doorway looking at each other. 7 years of separation. 6 months of war. A lifetime of lies now finally told. "Hi, honey," Elena said quietly. Layla didn't move. "Why did you tell Zevrian to hide me? Why not just disappear with me from the start?" "Because I was afraid," Elena said. "I was afraid that if I ran, Victor would hunt us down. But I was more afraid that if I stayed, your father would die trying to protect both of us." She gestured to the apartment. "Come inside. We don't have to do this in the hallway." They sat at a small table. Elena poured coffee. Her hands shook slightly. "Your father was the only good thing Victor ever created," Elena began. "I know that sounds strange, but it's true. I grew up watching my father destroy people. Watching him kill without hesitation. And I knew I didn't want to be like him." "So you ran?" Layla said. "I ran. I changed my identity. I was going to disappear and live a quiet life. Then I met your father." Elena smiled. It was sad and genuine. "He was the opposite of everything I'd been taught. He believed in things. He believed people could be better. He believed in second chances. And Victor killed him. Yes, because I chose your father over him. Because I was willing to testify against Victor. Because I was willing to help Zevrian take down everything my father built." Layla sipped the coffee. It was hot and bitter. Like everything else. "Why didn't you tell me any of this?" Layla asked. "Why raise me with lies?" "Because I needed you to be strong without carrying the weight of what I'd done. I needed you to survive without becoming like Victor. I needed you to be free from this history." Elena leaned forward. "And because telling you the truth would have put you in more danger. As long as you didn't know who I was, you were just a girl. But if you knew you were Victor's granddaughter, you became a target. Zevrian used that. He used me. Yes, but not in the way you think." Elena stood up and walked to a shelf. She pulled down an envelope and handed it to Layla. "Your father left this. For Zevrian. Instructions." Layla opened the envelope. Inside was a letter in her father's handwriting. "To Zevrian, if you're reading this, I'm dead. I need you to protect my daughter. Not because she's my legacy or because she matters to some larger plan, but because she's a child who deserves to live. And I'm trusting you to make sure she does. When she's old enough to understand, tell her the truth. All of it. Tell her about Elena. Tell her about Victor. Tell her about what we were trying to build. And then let her choose. Let her decide who she wants to be. Let her decide if she wants to finish what we started or if she wants to disappear and live quietly. That choice is hers alone. That's what makes her free. Thank you for this. Thank you for being the man I wanted to be. Marcus. Layla read the letter 3 times. She understood then. Her father hadn't wanted her to be a soldier. He hadn't wanted her to be a weapon. He'd wanted her to survive and have choice. What happens now? Elena asked. Layla thought about Cairo. About the preschool he was in. About the normal life they were building. About the man who'd sacrificed everything so she could have that life. Now I get to choose, Layla said. That's what my father wanted. What are you going to choose? Layla looked out the window at the gray Portland rain. She thought about the alley in Chicago. About the SUV. About blood and war and survival. I'm going to raise my son. I'm going to give him the life I never had. I'm going to let him grow up knowing his family's history but not being defined by it. Layla paused. And I'm going to forgive you. Not because what happened doesn't matter, but because you sacrificed more than anyone should have to sacrifice. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Can I see him? She asked. Your son? Yes, but he needs to know who you are. He needs to understand that you're his grandmother. That his family is complicated and real and marked by both love and violence. They brought Cairo inside. He woke confused but alert. He looked at Elena and then at Layla. Who is she? He asked. She's your grandmother, Layla said. She's been protecting us even when we didn't know it. Cairo studied Elena seriously. Then he climbed into her lap without hesitation. Kids were simple that way. They didn't carry judgment. They just knew love when they saw it. That night, Layla sat on Elena's apartment balcony overlooking the city. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You made the right choice. Your father would be proud. So am I. Live well. See. She deleted the message immediately. But she read it again in her mind. Zevrian was still out there somewhere. Still watching. Still making sure things stayed balanced. She didn't call him back. She didn't try to find him. Instead, she let him disappear completely into the shadows where he belonged. Below, the city moved and breathed. Millions of lives being lived. Millions of choices being made. She was just one person among them. But she was a person who'd fought. Who'd survived. Who'd chosen to be free. And that made all the difference. The rain kept falling. Cairo slept safely inside. Elena was in the kitchen making breakfast. And Layla understood finally what her father had been trying to build. Not an empire. Not power. Just a world where people could choose love over fear. Where they could choose integrity over survival. Where they could choose to be human in a world that demanded they be monsters. She didn't know if that world was possible. But she was going to spend the rest of her life trying to build it. One choice at a time. One day at a time. One moment of kindness and courage at a time. That was her inheritance. Not blood. Not violence. Not revenge. Just the knowledge that survival was possible. That strength came from within. That love, when you were brave enough to fight for it, could actually win. The new dawn was breaking. Somewhere in the city, Zevrian was watching. Somewhere in the world, others were fighting. Somewhere in the future, Cairo would grow up and make his own choices. But right now, in this moment, Layla was home. And that was everything.